wagon, jumping out the car with the kids on. So I rap to the beat of a different drummer. If I lie to compete, I feel dumber and dumber. I make tracks, the type to give you goosebumps. Extra large rhymes, supersized bumps. Eat it up and you're ready to move. Heat it up and you're ready to groove. I ride it on a Thursday, track it on a Friday, mix it on a Saturday, it's ready by Sunday. So I attack the mic to bring light and tell the evil in this world to take the hike. Make it a long one and keep on walking, cause in this heart of mine, the words of truth will do the talking. City of angels, where I live is LA. To be more like that name, I hope and pray. High level building clouds like a rock, so they stand. Build your life on faith, not on shame. 90 years old with the mic and the cane. Rocking the crowd while we're praising his name. 90 years old with the mic and the cane. Hands in the air like that now. Praising his name like that. 90 years old with the mic and the cane. Rocking the crowd while we're praising his name. All my kids rolling in the station wagon, jumping out the car with the kids all rapping. 90 years old with the mic and the cane. Rocking the crowd while we're praising his name. All my kids rolling in the station wagon, jumping out the car with the kids all rapping. 10 deep in a station wagon, my whole family with the hands in the air, bumping that Nick T stuff, giving praise, praising his name. 'Cause that's what it's about, man. Life, that's living.
A thoughtful address by
Good morning. It is Friday, September the 4th, 2020. I can't believe it's already September. This is crazy. I just told my wife this morning, I feel like the summer just flew by. You know, I don't know if it's because we've been locked down and, you know, limited interactions in the world, but here it is. It's already September. Well, thank you everyone for joining us again today. I got an awesome show today. Listen, I don't want to brag, but this is going to be awesome. I am a huge fan of today's guest, and he was one of the first two that I thought of. I had Scott Rutter in mind, and I had Matt Haze in mind that I wanted to have on here, and now I've got both of them. I had Scott Rutter, and now I've got Matt Haze. So my two bucket list points have been checked off, and I can now say, you know, I've done something that not only that I wanted to do, but I got the people that I wanted. Real quick before we go to Matt, I gotta address my my lovely sponsors. Some of them are familial, as Alex once said. How many sponsors do you have that don't have the last name of Peloso? Well, listen, I'm not going to get into that, but it is what it is. So. This episode of Let's Talk is powered by Poddecks. Poddecks are interview questions and episode starting prompts in the palm of your hand. So whether you're new to podcasting or an existing broadcaster looking to grow your audience and get more engagement, you're going to want to check out poddecks.com. Use code Dana Peloso at checkout for 10% off your first order. This episode is also sponsored by Villa. VYLLA. Homeownership made simple. See Realtor Stephanie Harkins, certified realtor in both Connecticut and Massachusetts, for all of your home ownership needs, both selling and buying. You can find her on Facebook at facebook.com/Stephanie Harkins Real Estate. That's Harkins. Stephanie Harkins Real Estate. Also sponsored by Tranquility and Company. Go to www.tranquco.com for quality handmade woodwick candles and more. Tranquility and Company. Also sponsored by Rock Solid Solutions. Head over to www.stonebuildsbest.com for all of your homeowners, DIY, contractor, hardscaping needs. All stone is at wholesale pricing and the rock bottom pricing in all of Connecticut. Stonebuildsbest.com. If you want to sponsor, you can reach out today. Find out more about sponsorship opportunities with Let's Talk. Last but not least, this episode is also sponsored by French River Auto Detailing, because every detail counts. Head over to facebook.com/French River Auto to book your full auto detailing today. There it is. Sponsors. If you're looking to sponsor, I would love to have you. Shoot me a message. But enough about me, enough about this. Let me switch over here, see if I can transition this appropriately to Matt Haze. Matt, good morning.
Good morning. I'm slightly disappointed. I'm happy that I was one of your bucket guest lists. That made me feel good. But I'm slightly disappointed that I'm number 2.
Oh no.
Wait a minute.
It's a tie, I swear.
You are on the bucket list. This is great. You were second.
No. Oh man.
Wait a minute.
I as I said it, I'm like, I'm gonna eat these words. This was the worst decision, but I also had to keep in mind that if you were to go back and look at past episodes, I had Scott Rudder on, and I did tell him, I said, listen, I've known you since I was probably in my mid-20s, and he's a war what do you call it, a decorated war hero. He's so I got to give it to him, and listen, it's nothing personal. I cannot stop laughing at the stuff that you put up, even on your personal page. So
well, I think he definitely deserves to be higher up on that list. He's done some amazing things. So I think absolutely, for sure. Just the way you said that, I just went, wait a minute.
Oh, I know.
You're putting me up on this pedestal now. All of a sudden, I'm being knocked down because I'm now number 2 on the list. This is my life story right here. Wonderful and great. We'll put you down in the like level 2, level 3. That's where we'll place you though. Level 1. We gotta think about that.
So what's funny? I've eaten my words like this in the past. So in 2016, is when I graduated the police academy. I was a police officer prior to my career now, and I was on a local radio show. My wife's tuning in, my family is listening. They're introducing us, and they said, Dana, who do you want to thank? And I said, I got to thank my biggest fan, and it is my daughter Tessa. And my wife, I'm telling you, I still to this day have the woman who kept the household together for the 6 months I was gone, and kept throwing Band-Aids on the leaks around the ship. But, so it's nothing personal, just like it wasn't with her.
So what I have to ask, was that conversation, was she, that was nice. You mentioned her daughter, but it was like there's this pleasant parent moment where she was happy that you were like, oh, cool. You mentioned her daughter. That was really great for her. But hold on a second. Let's dig a little bit deeper into this, honey.
Oh yeah. It was, and I'm telling you, no lie, we're at like year 4 now, and I still hear about it, time and time again. So,
that's hilarious.
So to both yourself and Aaron, it's nothing personal. You guys are always up there and ranked. So we got a few other people that are watching, and Nicole Stephen, a good friend of mine I grew up with, wants to know how she can become a Christmas tree. So we're gonna get to that, Nicole. I promise. Matt, tell me, who is Matt Haze? Are you married? Do you have kids? Do you have dogs? Do you have cats? Who are you?
Those are a lot of questions there. Hi, I'm Matt. I'm 38. I'm single. I like long walks on the beach. I am a comedian and media personality by trade. I've been working in the media space for over 20 something years. I live in San Juan, Puerto Rico for much of the year. And then normally when we're not in the middle of craziness of a year, I travel a lot the rest of the year. This year, a little bit differently. Most of it's being spent on the island. But I grew up in the Midwest in Cleveland, Ohio, and worked in radio in Ohio and Vermont and California, and lived in New York for many years. And started traveling around for a while and fell in love with Puerto Rico. And now I live down here in the Caribbean in paradise. No kids, no wife, which helped make the decision a little bit easier. But I do know a lot of people with families and kids that have moved down here for a lifestyle change as well. So no dogs. I love dogs. I wish I could have a dog, but I travel way too much. So I become friends with all the dogs in the neighborhood here, which makes it easy. I would love to have a cat, but I'm actually allergic to cats.
Oh no.
Badly allergic. So that is just not possible at all either. So it's just pretty much me. And then whichever pets I can, meet up in the neighborhood and pet and offer to walk and, and meet up with. So
that's great. So are you currently in Puerto Rico as we speak?
I am in San Juan right now. Yep.
How is I mean, you guys have been getting pummeled with weather lately. It seems like you can't catch a break. What's going on now?
Well, I actually just got back earlier this week. I was in Ohio, where I'm originally from, for a couple of weeks visiting family. So I wasn't here during those tropical storms, but I did come back to some fun from it because I pulled a rookie mistake. I've lived here for 2 years, but I still pulled a rookie mistake. I had all my windows closed. I didn't have my air running. I did have a fan on. And funny enough, last week, I was also in Indiana visiting a friend of mine who lives here on the island as well. He spends the summers up in Indiana. And I got my electric bill while we were sitting there drinking. And I said, it's dirt cheap. This is great because I'm not running my air conditioning and all that. He said, you might come back to a problem, though.
Oh, no.
And I did come back to a problem with my bedroom wall had about 2 feet high of mold on the wall because the air was so stagnant and with all the moisture and the humidity and everything over the last couple of weeks. So I was planning on coming home, getting some work done, having a nice relaxing thing, but the rest of the day was spent opening everything up, going to True Value, getting stuff to clean the walls. It was a total mess.
Oh, that's awful.
Definitely not do that again.
Yeah.
But we are now entering peak hurricane season. It was kind of, those tropical storms came through and there were some power outages and some flooding in some parts, but nothing major. The power is the biggest issue down here when storms come through because the grid is so old and the infrastructure is just not that great. They're working on changing that over the next few years, but that's the biggest problem. It's odd how unreliable it is. That's the biggest worry about the whole thing. But we're now starting to enter a stretch where I'm not worried, but I'm constantly keeping an eye on what's going on. Especially this is set up so far to be the most active hurricane season on record. We're already way past 2005's level, which is the biggest on record. There's normally 10 named storms every season. Mm-hmm. Right now, at the beginning of September, when we're entering peak, there are 6 names left on the list.
Oh, jeez.
And at that point, they go to the Greek alphabet, which they've only done once, and that was in 2005. So
wow.
You'll have, it should definitely be interesting over the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, well, good luck to that. I mean, I obviously, I'm sure that you're in one of the, San Juan, so you got a little bit more on the first world side of things, but. The island, it seems like you can't catch a break. The church that we go to, my wife and I and our family goes to, they have an annual mission trip to Puerto Rico, and they've been going down there since, and I forget which hurricane it was, but just absolutely decimated the area. So, FEMA kind of dropped the ball, shocker. And so the church has really been doing their part to try to help out and rebuild some of the lives that have, been damaged down there. So, good luck in this coming season. And I mean that truly. I know it sounds somewhat sarcastic, but it's not.
Oh, I know. And I appreciate that. I'm lucky. I live in old San Juan. I'm in the old neighborhood and I'm up on the hill. I'm further up on the hill in the neighborhood. My building is 400 something years old. I mean, these walls are 12-inch concrete. Wow. So it's, I feel safe. It's more just the element of infrastructure and little things that come along with it. That is just, there's a lot of things that could really like infrastructure wise when it comes to electricity and other elements like that, where if the right money was spent in the right places, we wouldn't have as big of a deal when a storm comes through. But we don't know. I mean, we might get another one or two, we might not. You just don't know. So it's updates come in every day at 8 a.m., 2 p.m., 8 p.m., and 2 a.m. So every 6 hours, I'm refreshing my browser just to see and
that's crazy.
Keeping an eye. And if I need to vacate the island, I still have to run my business on all I might. So we'll see. But it definitely is interesting. Definitely interesting to be around here during this time.
I can imagine. It's funny. So I'm adopted originally, so I didn't know. There's a lot of my background that I wasn't aware of. So. recently I had taken a DNA test, and I found that I have a lot of Puerto Rican heritage, and and it narrows it down to the village of Ponce, and
Nice.
so I have truly been throwing it down for Puerto Rico now, and my daughter might have me have a one up on me, but I meant to bring I got the front of the house, I've got the American flag with the Puerto Rican flag next to it, and when I found out, I mean, I went a little overboard, and if you look at I bought you see the flags at the car dealerships, like the yellows and all that stuff. Well, I bought one of those. It came as a 2-pack of string of flags, and they're all Puerto Rican flags, and there's probably close to 300 to 400 of them on there, and we missed Puerto Rican Day, so I wrapped the entire kitchen and dining room in those flags, and invited family over, and then we had our own Puerto Rican Day. So ever since I took that DNA test, I mean, even though I've it's been maybe 6 months that I've known this, Puerto Rico is a close favorite of mine now. So.
Oh, that's awesome. We got to make a trip on down here again soon. So
absolutely.
I mean, any time of year is absolutely beautiful, but we'll be hitting the peak weather season here coming up. Once we get past the storms, we get to that part, then it's not so bad. And then once we hit the winter weather, I mean, winter here is just magical. It's absolutely perfect weather.
Really?
You can't beat it.
So my wife's watching. She's gonna hold me to this. She threw up a bunch of hearts on here, so I can already see the trip in the forecast. And given the nature of the world right now, flights are pretty cheap. So maybe we'll be knocking on your door to say hi soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Come on. I mean, it's an interesting time. There are still people visiting, which is nice, but there's also a little animosity about tourists that are visiting here too. It's a double-edged sword, and a big debate on the island right now. And I can see both sides, and I can understand why people would be completely upset about it. I can also understand that businesses still need money, and you still need to keep the economy running in some way, shape, or form. But most people that have visited, there are a couple bad apples, and we see those videos on Twitter because it's 2020.
Right.
But overall, everyone I've met has been really good, being very respectful about things and being smart, wearing masks.
Yeah.
Just keeping a distance, following the rules that everybody else is following. So. It's definitely made it interesting, but yeah, flights are cheap too.
Yeah,
you can't beat that.
Right. And it's funny you mentioned the mask. Your Twitter handle, your personal Twitter handle, up until I think yesterday or the day before was mask wearing Matt Haze.
I did have that for a couple of weeks. Honestly, I got tired of seeing it, so I just got rid of it. Nothing more than that. I'm like, all right, I'm done with this. It's time for the next thing.
But
we're good with
you know what's funny though? Even something that subtle, it makes a point. And I think the debate over should I or shouldn't I is ridiculous. But I like that you put out there. I mean, right there in the forefront. So anybody, I mean, you got I think over 3,000 followers. I mean, that gives 3,000 people the opportunity to sit there and be like, either one, I'm an idiot, why aren't I wearing a mask? Or two, well, if this guy's doing it, I should be too. I mean, it's just no brainer if you ask me.
No, I agree. It's you know what? You can have a debate whether how effective it is or not.
Sure.
I'm not a health expert. I'm a comedian, so let me as a comedian explain my expertise on mask wearing and the health benefits of it.
Sure.
That's why I see some of these people that complain about I'm sorry, what do you do for a living? That's great that you do that, but you are not an expert on that. Why on earth am I going to be sitting here and listening?
Correct.
All of a sudden to you ranting on about, oh, you're a real estate agent and you're telling me about whether a mask or not works. Wow. Okay, great.
Tell me about your life experience,
great.
Right?
Oh, wow. You going in and helping people buy and sell a home and knowing how to use the MLS, that's exactly the type of expertise I need in someone telling me how to keep myself healthy and safe. That's exactly it's I can see, I wear it personally because I think it's important that if I can do one little thing that's safe
Absolutely.
and it keeps people safe and keeps people healthy, I'd rather go to my grave knowing that I look silly and ridiculous for a year or two in photos wearing that and then being wrong on the other side than finding out that if I didn't wear it, that it actually caused more harm and might have affected people in ways I did not know.
Right.
It's not that big of a deal to me. And for the fact that we're in this weird time that, especially here in the States, where this is all in a way brand new.
Right.
The first couple of months, America has been in this weird bubble. And I really noticed it since moving away a couple of years ago, how much America and other countries suffer from this as well. But I know what I know and in my home country and really seeing it, that everybody has lived in their own little bubble in their lives, in their little towns or states and in the country. And so many times you would see things about viruses and things that are going on in other parts of the world. And it was always just something you read on Twitter, or it was a 30-second thing on the news. It was a story you saw and you're like, oh, that's just stuff that happens over there. But all of a sudden, that actually happened on our soil.
Right.
We had to deal with what the rest of the world has dealt with, numerous times over the years. So when you look at an area such as Asia, which is just a part of the culture to wear masks because they want to keep themselves safe, because
Right.
they have dealt with viruses and all that before, there is no debate. That's just what it is. It's fine. They don't overthink it. Here, it comes here, and everyone all of a sudden has to deal with what those other problems happen in other parts of the world. And then we get into this weird, odd debate whether it should or should not, just because that's what Americans do, instead of taking a look at what other parts of the world have done and why they do it and go, okay, maybe it's time we have to do that then as well. It is just what it is. It's such an odd time to be able to watch that debate now,
Right.
how people will debate some of these things like that.
Well, and it doesn't help the, everything. I mean, you name it, political divisiveness, social divisiveness, everyone's got their reason why they want to argue not to wear it. But how about the fact that, there's no harm? Let's pretend for a moment that I am that person who says, this is stupid, it doesn't do it. Well, what harm does it do you by putting it on and, caring about the other people that are around you? I mean, to me, at the very, very least, it's a moral, social responsibility,
Right. And also, by the way, too, I have my own Instagram account, but I also have one or two like throwaway accounts where I follow people on the other side and just kind of see what the debate is going on. Because if I do it on my main one, it would affect the algorithms and the ads and all that. I don't want that, but
Right.
I have it so I can see, all right, what is the right saying here? Then I have one that's the far left. So I can kind of keep an eye just because of the social commentary that I do. And there's one or two guys on the far right side, and I'm sure that this exists on the left side in some way, shape, or form. But as we're talking about the masks, this is what I thought of.
Mm-hmm.
Guys that will gloat about how they don't wear it and how they're not a sheep, and everyone else that does is a sheep, and you're a sheep and you should unfollow because I don't do this. What are you overcompensating for that you have to gloat so much about that you're not a sheep like anybody else, and not actually adding to a debate, not actually being part of a conversation, being part of something bigger? It's, look at how awesome and great I am because I'm not wearing a mask. Wow, aren't you special and great? Whoop-de-doo. It is just this weird, bizarre dynamic that I see.
I agree completely, and you're right. I mean, there are, on both sides of the fence, there's people out there that are just, one, I wear it because I'm saving the world. Well, you're not a hero, guy. You're doing what's right,
Exactly.
But
it's one of those things where, and when people started wearing it on a regular basis, you really saw it's so much of that kind of virtue signaling in a way of, look how great I am, I'm wearing a mask.
Right.
Thank you for doing that. Now what?
Yeah, right.
Now what?
Here's your high five, but I can't touch you.
Okay, great. That's the virtual high five from afar. Absolutely. That's all we can do that way. But it's like, now what? Okay, great. And it's also the at the beginning of the whole thing, there was part of me that when I was back home in Ohio a couple weeks ago, I saw there was an 80th birthday party going on in my mom's development, and they had a bunch of people there. And I posted a photo about it of, all right, maybe that's not the greatest thing to do. And I wrote a silly joke or something, but I'm even now at the point where I don't even want to point out when people do things that I point out things that I disagree with. But when it comes to like the masks and the parties and all, people are going to do what they're going to do.
Right.
If someone's going to walk around and not wear a mask, I'm not going to be, you need to wear a mask and then shame them and do all that.
I was just going to say, it's mask shaming.
Well, why are we even doing that? It is their choice. If they don't want to wear it, that's fine. They're an idiot. I can mentally think that and call them names in my head.
Right.
But me yelling at them like I'm a parent or a teacher or something, do we really think that's actually going to change anything? Do
No.
we really think that yelling at a stranger, hey, you should wear a mask, and then yelling a bunch of stuff off in this very negative connotation tone is really going to make them change their mind? Because they're going to go, oh, you know what? Some stranger on the street yelled at me and mentioned this one thing they read off of this one website. You know what? That's it. I'm going to start wearing a mask. That no one has ever said that.
Right.
So why are we doing so much of this? The masks. There's nothing we get out of mask shaming besides entertainment.
Right.
There's nothing
and
we
it's
get
and
out
it's awful. It's all. It's, you know what it brings me back to? It's and I think I read it. Somebody actually commented on this, so I can't take credit for this. But it brings me back to that that grade school playground garbage. You know what I mean? Like let's knock somebody to the ground because just because we can. There's the society as a whole has lost kindness. Society and people have lost kindness for their fellow man, and something as simple and trivial, truly, as wearing or not wearing a mask. Who cares? There's plenty of people with COPD that can't wear it. I'm not going to sit there and shame you for not wearing it. Likewise, oh, look at you. For the longest time, my mask was, I think it was pink, and it was outlined with like a purple string, because my wife made a bunch of them, and they were all made out of, like all of her old fabrics. She makes blankets and stuff for the kids or whatever. And I wore a pink one. And for the longest time, people were like, oh, nice pink mask. Thank you. Thank you very much. I've got a second one if you want it. There's not much that bothers me, personally. And there's not much that really, irritates me more than people being jerks just for the sole purpose of being jerks.
Right. And what's weird is I started writing a blog post or something about this over the last week, about we're this double-edged sword where we've lost the art of conversation.
Right.
But we also gained it. Let me explain. We've lost this having a conversation about things. Now it's just yelling. I'm going to virtue signal my points and my talking points from my core and my group and my my tribe that I hang out with, and I'm going to share that. And then the other side's going to do the same, and we're just going to yell, and we get effing nowhere. I don't know if we were allowed to swear on here.
Nah, I prefer, but I got this. Ready?
Yeah.
There we go.
We get nowhere. There we go.
See, perfect.
That's great. But at the same time, though, we're now also seeing more things like this, shows and conversations. But so many of the shows and conversations are people in the same bubble. There's a growing world in the self-help and the thoughtfulness space, a lot of long conversations with psychologists and life coaches and all, but it's the same 30 people interviewing each other on their own podcast, having the same 30 conversations.
Right. And what's funny?
Where's the other side of it? Where is the space to have the balls and the guts to say, hey, I can have someone that I completely disagree with, be confident in my own debate and my own thoughts and my own beliefs, and bring them on and actually have a conversation. And maybe at the end of it, we realize we agree to disagree, but we're still humans at the same time. At the end of it, we've gone so far past that.
Yes.
It is just mind-boggling to me. But instead of having that conversation with someone on the other side, it's, no, I cut them off and I'm going to talk to everybody else that believes in the same exact thing as me. What good does that do?
Exactly.
You're not going to get anywhere doing that.
I could not agree. So what's funny, and not that I want to take this hard left here, or right, whichever. I'm fairly certain that you and I are on very far ends of the spectrum politically, right? I've seen some of your commentary about things. There's a lot that I do agree with, 100%. But there's stuff that I don't agree with. But why have we gotten to the point in society where you and I can't sit here and have a conversation about one topic that we both know that we're on different sides of the fence, and have a civil conversation? And maybe we can, but I'm saying in the society as a whole, it can't be done anymore. And I think it's troubling.
How do I word this? So as someone I was having this conversation last night, actually. I went out for a drink that ended up being 8 drinks. Puerto Rico.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
It works out that way. You meet new people. You got to be polite and have a conversation with them.
It would be rude not to.
Absolutely. I wouldn't just want to have one drink and leave. I have to have at least, 4 more.
Yeah.
We have just been in this. This is one of the greatest things about 2020. And I started writing a whole rant about this, about how I think 2020 is actually going to be the best year of all of our lives.
Okay.
Now, I think that there's a lot of horrible things that have happened. We have lost lives. People have lost businesses.
Right.
We are seeing ways of life being shifted. There's a lot of uncertainty. There's a lot of negative things that have happened and horrible things that have happened to people. At the same time, though, this really has woken us up, because we were in such a zombie state. We were in such just this flow of doing what everybody else is doing. Right. You have to, go to school and do this, then go into this school to get this type of job and get this degree, so you get this type of job, and then go get married to this type of person and have this as many kids and this type of life and doing all that. And we were just in this weird, odd flow that we forgot the basics of just learning, of having a real conversation, of growing. That when we were kids, we didn't have any of those preconceived notions and ideas in our head. We were so open and honest and exploring, but then we were drilled with just what quote unquote society teaches us. And that's not a left or right thing. That's just a societal way of growing up. And in the different parts of the country and the way you grew up and your family and your ethnicity is all going to add to that.
Right.
But we all were stuck in this whole thing, and we kind of never learned how to have real authentic conversations and be open and honest.
Right.
And when we wanted to have those, and we deep down did, we were always so scared to open up and do that. We felt that everyone else couldn't have those type of conversations. It would ruin that flow of just the social norm of everything. Why actually dig into those conversations, which is one of the reasons why I left the States. Is there's so much of that vibe and feel. And I'm the very open and honest, get straight to the point type of guy. I'm not going to, like last night, I met an awesome couple who live here. He's 51 and she's 29.
Wow.
And they're awesome together. It was great. But I point blank asked them, I said, so what do your kids think about this? What does your ex-wife think about this? And they were just happy that someone asked those questions, because sometimes when you meet something like that, you want to ask that. You're thinking that because there's a unique, different dynamic, because there's a social norm. And I went straight for it because I'm fascinated with what is that like? How does that change that interaction amongst the family and all that? But people are so afraid to have those conversations to get there. And we love those. We crave those. And when we do have them and we are open and vulnerable enough, and we give ourselves permission to be vulnerable enough to do it, you feel great and feel awesome after having it because it's real and authentic. But it's so easy then to go back into just the mold that we were taught and kind of keep with the status flow of everything going on. So we've been in this year where the status flow has been completely broken apart, and we have to ask ourselves some really deep, honest questions. And at the beginning, I think there was a lot of this vibe and feel with it, but there's such a push to go back to the normal flow. And I think part of it is because of this element that we can't have honest, real conversations. We're afraid to, because we're afraid of the answers. We don't feel vulnerable enough because we haven't given ourselves permission. And also we're surrounded by people that won't give themselves permission to do it as well. So we need to get to that first level of being able to give ourselves permission to be able to do it. And then once we do, then I think it's open to be able to do. And I even think that, when we talk about how in the old days we used to be able to do that, I still think it was very surface type conversation as it is anyway. It was just Republican talking points, Democratic talking points, but never the deep rooted issues that really surrounded underneath what was going on. And now, because of the internet, that's all bubbled up and it's just in your face. And we never wanted to actually have to deal with it. Now it's, oh crap, here it is on a platter for you, live on a Facebook Live video. Here's what has actually gone on over the last, over the decades.
Right.
And now you have to face it, and you just can't ignore it. And if you do ignore it and say, well, this didn't happen before, that's just BS, because you don't want to actually have those honest, deep conversations about that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So Nicole says that the town that she lives in, they set up an email to tell on each other because they were calling the police so frequently that about people not wearing masks. And she said that she imagined that somebody opens that email every morning and hits delete all.
That's the first thing you should do. What good are you actually adding by tattletaling on somebody else?
Truly, this has become a schoolyard.
Yeah, absolutely. It is like a schoolyard. High school never ends. Have we not learned that yet? High school never ends.
Right.
We go to our high school reunions and all the bubbled up below stuff that we kept inside ourselves after all those years bubble back up again. That's all this is. That mindset never ends. It is the most mind-boggling thing. And the sad thing is to think that 30 seconds or a minute that you spent writing that email, what could you have actually done to better your life, better your family, better your situation, that actually would have done a million times better than telling someone, than tattletaling on someone because they chose not to wear a mask. It's the most ridiculous thing in the world.
Absolutely. What's funny is, you could even look at it at its most basic form. There's people that are capitalizing off of selling these masks, right? I think I paid, because I forgot one and I truly want to wear it wherever I go. I forgot one, $10 I paid for one. And, maybe somebody doesn't have $10 in their pocket. That's why they don't have the mask on. So rather than point your finger and hop on your smartphone, why don't you, kindly ask the question, hey, do you want a mask? I'll buy one for you. If you don't want one, no problem. I'm not trying to be rude, but I notice you don't have one. It is what it is. But there's ways of approaching things. And, And again, I mean, the very basics of it all is kindness. People just forget to be kind to each other.
Right. And also part of it is that there's no money to be made in the middle
Right.
of conversation. It is the money is on the far left and the far right.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the reason why CNN has moved in one direction is because it's money.
Right.
It's purely because of money. It's the reason why Fox's goes on one way and then MSNBC is on the other side. And then you have all the smaller ones underneath that do the same thing.
Right.
There is no money in them. There's always this craving of doing the traditional news. And there are some, WGN America is now doing a 3-hour nightly traditional newscast. CNBC has brought Shepard Smith back onto TV. He's going to be doing a nightly actual news program. So there is a craving for it, but whether there's actually money in there or not, that's where the debate is. And when it's all said and done, a lot of it does come down to money. It does come down to,
and that's the worst part. Money is driving social interactions.
Yeah. Absolutely. I'm curious. You said, I don't mean to derail you for a minute, but you said there were some things that you agree with me and disagree with. I'm kind of curious on what side, and if you're willing, what do you agree with? Kind of what do you disagree with?
I don't remember specifically the post that you had up there, but I listen. Admittedly, I am a right. I can't say right wing Republican. I'm registered Republican. I tend to lean way more on the right than I do the left. And I could be completely wrong. I read, some of your posts as you being on the other side of the fence. And again, I'm the person, I truly, if you have something that's intelligible that can be spoken, that we can have a conversation about, I love it. You know what I mean? Yeah. And a lot of times what I'll do with, like you have the other accounts to watch both sides of the fence. What I do is, if I see a tweet that is something that I don't particularly, maybe at face value agree with, I'll watch the feed afterwards. You get the back and forth. So you got the name calling, whatever, that aside. But I typically am, like you, more interested in what the opposing viewpoint has to say and why they say it. And a lot of times it helps to educate me further. Either one, hey, Danny, you're an idiot and you're wrong. Or, well, I still stand where I stand, but it's good to know the other side of it. But, and to be honest with you, I don't remember offhand what it was specifically, and I'll gladly look back and I'll shoot you a message about it afterwards. But I can't remember offhand what it was, and that's no word of a lie.
No, that's I believe you. That's all good. I appreciate it, and that's what's funny is that I grew up in a very Republican household. The first time I ever voted for president was George W. Bush in 2000, and I voted for him again in 2004. But I voted for Barack Obama.
Sure.
And it's I probably am more of a rhino than anything, honestly. Okay. But in that old sense, I felt that the Republican Party that I knew I personally had changed, and I felt the party had changed.
Yes.
Yes. And I honestly just went a little bit further related more towards the Democrats, also because I partly lived in New York City for a while. So
right.
You were surrounded by that.
Well, I'm in Massachusetts.
There you go.
Yeah.
You understand that.
Yeah.
But more than anything, I probably have leaned more right over the last year as it is anyway. But the thing is, that's one of those things where then people say, oh, then, you must like Donald Trump. No, I hate the bastard. No, I think it's the worst. I think Donald Trump is the personification of what America, middle America, and the stereotype of America is. That is what he is, and it is absolutely no surprise that he got elected. I'm not the fan of him in any way, shape, or form, and I don't think he's the type of person that should be representing a country of hundreds of millions of people. Mm-hmm. That doesn't mean, though, that just because I lean right and believe certain elements that government should be smaller, that taxes should be lower, that there is still a responsibility that government has for the people, that I like the guy. I don't in any way, shape, or form. And it's this torn of, how on earth am I supposed to be able to put any support towards a party that embraces a man that I wholeheartally disagree with and think is a horrible personification of our country? Right. And I know there's so many other people that are in that boat. You see the Lincoln Project. You see, a lot of these other smaller organizations coming up, going, this isn't what we believe the party should be. It's this element of, I do lean further right in many ways, but I mean, probably fiscally right, socially left.
Sure.
I still think people should be able to do what they want as long as they don't hurt anybody. I think that we still have a responsibility as a society to take care of each other, but I also don't think that people should be taking advantage of that. And I see so much of that. It is, especially over the last year, there's a lot of people that are doing a lot of good to help each other out. But then there's also a lot of people taking advantage of it, and it's so disappointing and disheartening. So
you had mentioned that you're a rhino. Just to clarify for anybody that's watching that doesn't know what a rhino is, it's a Republican in name only, RINO, rhino. And you know what's funny is I have a lot of at one point I had some friends that they if you're a rhino, you're not part of the party. Well, listen, or George H.W. Bush. I mean, oh my gosh, the horrible things that people used to say about him. And to be honest, the guy was an awesome person. You know what I mean? Forget politics. He was a good person. So yeah, no, and then I think it's interesting. So now this is going to cost me to go back and like probably scroll for years of your tweets and read things because I wouldn't have pegged you for that.
People that are probably already going to start doing that because at some point I have to get canceled. At some point, that's just how the internet is. So I'm sure at some point there's someone already scrolling through preparing for tree season. So that's just kind of how it works.
Which listen, that's a perfect segue. So what. I don't know how I stumbled upon it or what year it was because I understand you've been the 30 Rock Christmas tree since what year?
I started doing it in 2010, so this will be the 10th year.
That's crazy. Year. Let me just transition over. Actually, we'll wait on that. But the 30 Rock Christmas tree, it's at 30 Rock Tree 30 Rock Tree on Twitter, and I am. We had briefly talked before we went live, and I had told Matt. I said I am the person that tries to find the positive in things. There's so much negativity everywhere. Everywhere you look, there's someone complaining, someone, making fun of something, somebody, whatever. And I think that's how I ended up finding the 30 Rock Tree because I live to laugh. You know what I mean? There's too much negativity in our lives and to be, to watch a Christmas tree have a full-on conversation, let alone the feud that you got into with Al Roker. That was, I'm telling you, comedic genius. I was in tears so many times laughing, reading the back and forth between the Christmas tree and Al Roker.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. And by the way, I want to clarify one thing. It is unofficial.
Right.
It for legal reasons has absolutely nothing to do with the Rockefeller Center Christmas tree or Rockefeller Center or 30 Rock. For legal reasons, it has nothing to do with those. I just need to clarify.
No.
If not, my attorney will text me and go, say that right now. Do that.
That's incredible. You know what? And that's the other thing we talked about. I had my show opener. I always tried to feature a musician that, something that I could connect with or something that connected with the show's topic. And 3 of them now I've been hammered for copyright infringements. And I thought that as long as you pay for it, you can do what you want with it, but apparently not.
Yeah, it's I think it depends on the artist, depends also on the artist management, but they're cracking down on a lot of things like that now. You have to be really, really careful.
Yeah.
You really have to watch the wording when you purchase music of what this is available for, how.
Right.
A lot of times it might just be you have to send an email and say, hey, I did purchase this, here's the receipt, but it's definitely a crackdown over the last year.
Yeah, well, and listen, this will show my age, but I think it falls back to the Napster and Metallica stuff,
Yeah.
And it's funny because I got permission from one of the artists, and he was like, yeah, it's great. I really want more people to know about my music. And his the record company was the one that hit it this time. They hit the little complaint button. So I'm like, I can't win. So it is not an official representation of the 30 Rockefeller Christmas tree. It is a parody only. What's funny is I almost distinctly remember when you put in the description that says this is a parody only, and I'm like, man, some idiot probably tried to hammer on him for this.
No, it wasn't the tree though. So I lived in New York for nearly 10 years. I lived outside of New York in Weehawken, New Jersey. And a couple of years ago, New Jersey Transit, the public transit system, was just really bad. They had the train accident in Hoboken. There was a couple bus accidents where people were murdered, killed, pure accidents, but it just got really bad. And I created this was after doing the tree for a few years, but just as a way to get my frustrations out, I created a parody of the New Jersey Transit Twitter account, because the New Jersey Transit Twitter account was one of the most unhelpful things on planet Earth. They never share any actual information. You ask for help, they just send you to a website to fill out a form, and they never get back to you. So I wrote this thing. It got press. Pix 11 in New York City. My buddy Greg Mocker was nice enough to do a story about it. It was a fun niche thing for people that do the commute in and out of the city. And I got copyright infringement from Twitter, New Jersey Transit strike me on it because I use the actual logo, and they were afraid that my tweets that were parodies making fun of them not sharing information were going to be used as actual information from New Jersey Transit.
Oh my goodness!
No joke. So I had to change the name. There's a poop emoji now instead of the logo. I said, well, if I have to change it, then I'm going to use the most accurate representation I have of New Jersey Transit, and that's this. And they came back at me one other time for something else. So it's not actually Tishman Spire or Rockefeller Center. It was New Jersey Transit that
That's
actually
funny.
made a spark. And I'm like, you know what? I should add it because one of the requirements on Twitter is you have to mention that it's a parody.
Right.
So just for the few people that might not know. And at the beginning too, a lot of people used it, thought this is an actual source of information. At least once or twice a year, the tree would still get a tweet of, hey, what time are the lights on until? And I know that just from knowing what happens around there to build the character. So I share that. But half the time I'll reply, it's a parody, it's a joke. I don't know. Don't ask me. So
Wow. So it's funny. Somebody's at my front door, and my son's in here. Dad, somebody's at the door. You don't have to answer. Just let it be. If we weren't home, nobody would answer it either. my wife's got my daughter at her horseback riding lesson, and it's me and Nate home right now, and we have
it's the Twitter police there. They're knocking on the door. They're coming for me already.
They want to shut this down.
Conversation. They're too lazy to fly the island. They just go up to Massachusetts. They're still having none.
They've been outside trying to saw through my wires, but they didn't get anywhere. So now they're knocking on the door.
That's right.
What's even funnier though is because here's some first world problems. Is that the only reason I knew that the doorbell was being hit was because all of the Alexas in the house just said someone is at the front door. Yeah.
Oh, Alexa, you're so scary and creepy like that.
Yeah, isn't it? But now, like I look at life now with these Alexas and all this stuff, and like I have a handful of stuff. I'm walking through the Alexa, turn on the hallway lights, and the lights are on. So like I can't,
Can I just say something?
Sure.
You lazy dude. Why don't you just flip the switch? Remember the good old days when we walk into a room and we flip the switch? Why do you need to vocalize it now? Can't you just hit the button?
Oh, yeah.
Why? What's the point? What's the point?
I can't refute this. You're absolutely right.
What, how lazy have we become where it takes more energy to say, Alexa, turn on the lights? And I probably just activated your Alexa by even doing that. Instead of going to the wall. I can understand.
You can hit the switch with your shoulder.
And we've had maybe it's late at night and you've had a few because then it's that awkward. I touch the wall. You wake up in the morning, see your handprints, and you're nowhere near your light switch. So in that situation, that might be helpful. When it's just going into the room at night and all that, we're so accustomed that we have to have our virtual assistant now do everything for us. No, you know what? My virtual assistant can take that moment and relax. I can hit the stupid light switch on my own. Thank you very much.
I can't argue. I can't argue with you. You're 100% spot on because truly it was motivated by, well, if I've got to bring, 3 laundry baskets at once up the stairs and I can't turn the lights on, then I'd be have to make 2 trips up and down the stairs, maybe even 3. No, we can't have that. Let's tell Alexa to turn the lights on. I'm carrying all the laundry up.
What's funny is that we think that's going to save us money because the lights go on and off that way, but we're spending more electricity keeping those stupid things plugged in 24/7 as it is anyway. So it's actually not saving any money in any way, shape, or form.
Not even close.
That's why our electricity price, I don't trust. I have a Google Home. I got it for a day. It was free, and it stayed in the box after that. But I don't trust Google has enough of my life information and knows all my secrets.
Oh, you're not even
kidding.
kidding.
Knowing more,
right?
But also, I don't want to keep it plugged in and wasting that electric bill. So that way, I can tell Alexa to turn the lights off. That costs money. I'm totally turning my dad in that sense.
I'm a horrible person. I'll be the first to admit it. I'm sorry. So listen, back to the tree.
Go on.
Back to the tree. I'm going to bring up a screen here, so we're both still on. I don't know if you're watching too, but so this is the meme the meme that you put up of Al Roker, and it was January 9th. Attention to the person on the 5th floor that keeps staring at me from their office. Yes, I see you. Get back to work. You know who you are, and you tagged Al Roker. What started the Al Roker Christmas tree? That I'm telling you, and then you go over here. Hang on a minute. Let me bring up Al Roker. And here's the video he had in reply to that.
30 Rock Tree, I know the end is near. You've been spectacular this year, really you have. But, gotta go. Guess what? I'll be back. You, not so much.
So he's looking out of his window, and he recorded a reply to you on that. That's hilarious.
Yeah, he's such a great guy and a good sport to play along with that. So how that started? So well, some of the info from especially this year, like it's the fifth floor, I think that I wrote right.
Yeah,
So his
yeah.
office is on the fifth floor. I have friends inside of 30 Rock and NBC Universal. So
Okay.
some that know it's me that write the tree, then some that don't. And I get a lot of inside info. Like there was one tweet about Al always has a big holiday party every year.
Okay.
And the next morning, I tweeted something about Al's looking a little, walked in looking a little tired or whatever.
Yes.
It was the day after his party. So he and I have gone back and forth with over the years, but this was the first year where it really went crazy.
It was amazing.
Yeah, it was. I couldn't believe that he jumped in with it. So what sparked it? The reason why it's Al.
Mm-hmm.
And not any other member of the Today Show or anything. So every year when they bring the physical tree on in, the Today Show does a big deal of it's the holidays. Here we go, the tree's coming in.
Sure.
And they do the camera shot with it rolling into Rockefeller Center. It's a big deal. And one year, Al was on the truck and they had the jib cam. The jib cam's the cam that's above that looks down below.
Okay.
And I don't remember exactly what he was wearing, but I think it was like a Christmas hat or Christmas lights or a Christmas jumper. And he was on there with the tree, kind of looking like the overzealous dad, excited to get the Christmas lights out of the attic the day after Thanksgiving. It's Thanksgiving, kids. Let's go crazy, like Clark Griswold.
Admittedly, that is 100% me.
Okay, see, there you go. Yeah. So he kind of had that vibe with the tree, like it's exciting and all that. And I just went, oh, all right. And I started writing the character like a year or two before that. And there was one or two tweets about that of like, you're not my buddy. What is this? We're not friends like that. He was just acting like, yeah, this tree's my buddy. And that's kind of where that all started and why it's always been Al that the tree is picked on a little bit.
Yeah.
Just because he kind of played that early on with it in the early years with it. So, and then this year, I wasn't expecting it to blow up like it did, but he decided to play along with it. And we definitely had some fun with it. I'm very grateful to him and the crew over the Today Show for playing along. We definitely had some fun with it for sure.
Well, and it's funny because
it was interesting. What's interesting is that sitting in Puerto Rico on my patio enjoying coffee, and then all of a sudden I get 100-something notifications on my phone because they made a mention of it on the Today Show, and it'd be like, this is the most weird. I mean, I'm grateful, but this is like my life is a little weird. How surreal this is that all of a sudden, this is blowing up like that.
That's and there's I think there's over 10,000 followers now.
Yeah, over 10,000. So it's slowly but surely grown. But what's amazing though is that it doesn't have that large of a following, but with the impressions it gets can be through the roof with some tweets in some years.
Well,
so
and you know what's funny? I never knew about impressions until I started doing this marketing stuff and reading up on things and taking some classes online. And one tweet that might have 3 people that look at it might have 30 impressions. Now, I mean, you probably now know this better than I do, but what the impressions, that's solely like I retweet your message and somebody else of my friends sees it, right?
Yeah, to me, impressions are eyeballs. That's how I look at it. How many eyeballs? Well, I mean, you should technically double eyeballs because we have 2 eyeballs. But every impression is a touch. Every impression is I probably shouldn't use that word in today's dynamic, but no, that's one. Yeah, thank you for beeping that.
I got you.
That.
I got you.
We got that. It is a connection with somebody. It was able to get in front of somebody.
Yeah.
So that, to me, that's how I look at that. So, when you get, 1 million or 2 impressions, off of, a handful of tweets and only 10,000 followers, that's definitely not bad. I'll take that.
Yeah. And you know what's funny? So I saw an interview that you had done, and I think it was on Fox News, and they were talking about how, around the holidays can be one of the higher rates of suicide, how depression goes through the roof, and how several people now, I guess, have mentioned how just your tree account has been that uplifting, joyful moment in their life, and that you were debating at one point and just and stopping until you had heard the positive impressions that it's having on people. Is that accurate?
That is accurate. And every year I still debate whether I'm going to do it or not. It still comes out that way. Because I started when I first I'll share something with you. I haven't really shared much.
Okay.
So I had to go through a lot of personal stuff on my own, of just my own personal journey of how I play into life, and coming back to myself and realizing that I have my own loneliness to deal with, and I have my own problems to deal with, and I use the tree in a way to kind of be an outlet to connect to people. And the tree has always been, while there is certain elements that aren't me, there are elements of my personality that do come through in that. And I have friends of mine that say, why don't you do that more with your own content, like you are the tree, because that's more authentically me in that sense. So there was always a debate whether, how much of that is me, how much isn't that me. And that kind of messes with your brain a little bit when you think about it and you get that involved in it. You at some points you would think, oh, maybe people like the tree more than me. Like I had those thoughts for a while.
Okay.
And I genuinely didn't like thinking that. And I had to come to a place where I felt comfortable with it and knowing what it means to people and, hearing people like you with your kind thoughts and all that. I don't do it at the beginning. It was really very selfish and more for me, but I really do it now for more others. And if I can make, a little, add a little laughter here and there, I'm definitely all for that. And it's something that, it also at the beginning was a lot of work the way I originally did it, but I had to evolve it over time. And there was a part in the middle years where I had a hard time struggling with it because the old way of doing Twitter was gone.
Right.
We switched and things changed because of the algorithm, because how people viewed. Originally the way I helped start to grow it at the beginning was people would take selfies with the tree and the tree would just respond back. I had to search for Rockefeller tree or Rockefeller Christmas tree. And when people would take the selfies on Twitter, the tree would respond. And that's how it originally grew. But then the parodies got crazy. There were so many other people doing parodies. People kind of got sick of that stage and that couldn't work anymore. So I had to be a little bit more crafty and creative and really dig deep into the comedic side of really make these sharp, really make these stick, and really be more of a wordsman and a craftsman of what I'm trying to say or what I'm trying to get across. And then once I started embracing that, I started to really enjoy it again more. So it's had its shifts over the years.
Yeah, no, and you can see it, and again, I mean, there have been nights where I'm working a midnight shift and and it's just dead. And I'm not even kidding you, where I'll scroll and read them and reread some of them, read some new ones. But I think it's admirable that you're keeping it going for that reason and for that cause. But it's true though. I mean, and not that well, listen, everybody's got their own issues and stuff. But I can tell you that I do genuinely read this. It might be a garbage day, and I'm like, I can't find one good thing. And then I'll go on here and I'll see Mulch Fest. No, I will not be making an appearance here. Gross. And it's so subtle, but I think it's hilarious. But I also have kind of a dry sense of humor. So
I appreciate that, and I get it. There's other people that have that element of sense of humor that I didn't always find on Twitter. So that's why I try to. And I get it. Not everybody gets it, and it's not a fan for everybody. And I've gotten tons of hate over the years,
really,
especially from the New York City comedy community. They don't like it, and that's fine. That because it's not the traditional sense of things, but it's fine. It works for people that like it, and I'm happy to to do that. And any element of fun that I can create in that sense, that's kind of my life's passion is to make people laugh and think. That's my goal. And I try to do both of those with everything that I do. So if I can do it for for at least one person, then I'm happy to continue to do it.
Listen, then I'll tell you, and I'll continue to tell you every year. I look forward to it. I actually I know that you start to get early on. You'll put the trees. What is on vacation, and it'll be a washed up log on the side of a beach, and that's why when I start to see the frequency start to build up a little bit more, that's when I know, all right, it's time to start tuning in, regularly here. But I actually have it set to alert my phone. That way, whenever anything goes out, it comes right to my phone. Which I'll have your retweet of my tweet. Like that was, listen, I made it somewhere. The 30 Rock Tree and Matt Haze have now retweeted my stuff. And no word of a lie, I'm sure there's got to be some way to search tweets and stuff. But I've shot them out there to the tree for years. I'm like, please. And now I've got you on my show. This is perfect.
Well, first off, I appreciate the kind words. That means a lot to me. I respect that. And I thank you so much. And thank you for being such a staunch supporter over the years. I really do appreciate it. It's nice. It's so nice to know that I can do something that can make people laugh when I don't even know. I mean, that there's something really awesome about that, which is one of the reasons why I continue to do it. I love knowing that, I have the power to be able to be wherever I'm at and just write something.
Sure.
But it's also slightly scary that you have a device in your pocket that I can write something and it can zing you at any point, anywhere in the world you're at. It's kind of this weird dynamic of it's really awesome and then really strange at the same time.
Right. Right.
It's amazing.
Yeah. And it's funny that you mentioned the the beginnings of the infancy of the tree and how people would put selfies of themselves in front of it and then you would reply back to it. I'm telling you, I think one of them, and I'm sure somebody's not going to like this, but one of them was, I think you had the picture and you said, I guarantee you'll be here next year with a different person.
Yeah. That's the inner Matt dialogue at that point coming out. I'll look at the photo and go, "There's no way, nope, you guys are not lasting." You can just see the smile. You can see she's all happy. He looks miserable. He's just going along with it. Yeah, that's not going to happen. Nope. It's mostly when those things. It's mostly the wording.
Okay.
It's the wording that they say usually about how it's important, or we have to get our annual thing, or look how there's something about it where they romanticize that moment. And I understand. I mean, I used when I lived in the city, I would go and see the physical tree at least once a year just to kind of get a vibe and feel for it. But I would never go more than that ever near it, just because it is a crazy world around there. I mean, 1 million people a day. It's crazy. Except this year. This year will be a little different.
Yeah.
But it's just little things like that where I notice observations from the photo or the wording on it, and that's where some of those things come from. And it's kind of I kind of have fun being someone who lived in New York City, and I understand New York at Christmas is as magical as the movies make. You feel when you're walking down 5th or 6th Ave, it feels like you are walking on a real life movie set. It is magical. It is amazing. There's no place in the world better at Christmas than New York, period. End of story. But also being someone who's lived there and then dealt with the craziness of Rockefeller Center with the people and then the tourists and all that. There's part of me that kind of had fun knocking someone down a peg or two just for the fun of that. Again, we go back. This is going back to what you said at the beginning of how we're all mean. That sounds slightly mean, a little bit like I want to knock him down a peg or two. Then you get that mean side out of me. But it's also written because there's so many New Yorkers that look at it that way too. I mean, it's nice and all that, but at the same time, it's a tree and you're taking a photo in front of
right. Well, and I was gonna say, I'm sure you're connecting with more than just the the guy in Massachusetts looking at his phone screaming across his room, look at this. You got to be connecting with the New Yorkers who live this every day, and they're like, yeah, oh look, more couples in front of the tree again. And it's something for everybody, really.
That's why there's always the character has fun with the battle with the people inside of 30 Rock, because I know that the people that work there, while it's magical and great, it can be absolutely frustrating for people that work there that time of year, just trying to deal with the crowds and all. It's insane. And not everybody in the building is happy about that. So there's always some animosity between the people inside the building and that's where part of that comes from, which makes it interesting. Because the character itself has a persona of, when you think about it, the physical tree itself comes from a small little town somewhere in the tri-state every year. That's been in the ground for 60, 70, 80 years. It's been in that same place. It's like the old guy in a town that knows everybody and everything that goes on. Then all of a sudden you take it, you put it on a flatbed truck with a police escort into the city. It comes in secretly at night, because that's across the GWB, the George Washington Bridge, and it has to do it at night to avoid the traffic. It gets hidden in secret. It has 24-hour security. Then it has this big ceremony. It gets lit up, made a star, becomes the icon of New York City. Millions of people watch it on TV once a year for its one show for the 30 seconds at the end. That's all anybody cares about. No one wants to see Mariah Carey again, or some boy band that NBC is promoting on some TV show no one's going to watch. It's the last 30 seconds. It's the only reason why people watch the show. And the tree character knows that and has fun with all of that. So there's that's where the ego side of that comes from, of that, small town put into a big deal and all that. And there's so many people that, move to New York City that kind of want that type of dream life as it is. So it just totally plays on that and amplifies that, which is also where a lot of that dynamic against the traditional New York sense, once you've lived there and you're like, I'm over it. Yeah, the tree. Okay, that's great. Yeah, it's nice and all, but it makes it for definitely a fun dynamic.
Yeah, no, and like I said, man, I could go on forever. I am admittedly a giant nerd, okay? And things like this, like, I get probably way too excited about it than a 37-year-old adult male should. But when it starts to come up and like, oh gosh, when the ex-girlfriend is the peacock, like there's now what goes into, I mean, it probably sounds dumb to you being asked this, but what goes into the content? Is it truly just your inner monologue is coming out via the tree, or do you prepare for it? What do you do for it?
That's actually a great question. So there is a preparation in the sense that by about once I start feeling fall, my brain goes there. Okay, this is coming up.
Okay.
So I had that moment 3 weeks ago. August 10th was the date, because I made some decisions about this year, how we're going to do some things differently. And I actually open up a spreadsheet and start thinking, all right, what are what are the things that are going on in the world right now that I will start utilizing for jokes or way to connect. Obviously, this year, everything's going to be very different
Right.
because of social distancing. They're going to be limiting the amount of people that are there. I'm not sure how the show is going to be. So I mentally have to start thinking, all right, we start mentally thinking, how is it going to look? What are out? And the ideas will start flowing. And I start taking notes over the next couple of weeks of potential ideas of jokes, of things that are going on. Like there'll be some reference to the whole Tiger King thing and the Carol Baskin stuff because everyone talks
Carol
about that.
Baskin.
So like, I've never watched the show. I think it's ridiculous that a country is going absolutely crazy about a woman who allegedly potentially might have killed her husband, but we don't really know, and was made a star because of some tiger show, and they're going to put her on a TV show and let her dance, and millions of people are going to be excited about this. How screwed up is that?
Right.
So like there'll be little things like that from my inner dialogue that will somehow get mentioned, of my elements of my comedy mentioned into that. So I start just taking a lot of notes. In October is when I start getting serious about it. And the official start date, if there is one, is there's always an article when it gets leaked where this year's tree comes from. And that's kind of when it starts. So once that I have a Google notification for it, and then I also get tons of tweets from when the story hits. It's usually the New York Post that breaks it every year, and because they usually leak it about a day or two beforehand when they get ready to cut it. So once that happens and the tree becomes part of the conversation of, oh, it's that time of year again, that's when I go into full gear at that point, and then it goes until about the day or two after the tree gets knocked down for the year. And then it kind of goes into retirement mode, which is a once a month type of a joke reflecting of what's going on. So there was a couple of social distancing jokes earlier in the year, with the tree being away and people not being 6 feet apart and all that. And they'll be once a month. And I'm careful about that because I end up getting a lot of unfollows during off-peak season. Because people just don't want to see anything about Christmas. And all
No
that,
way.
So I understand that. So yeah, it makes no sense to keep doing it on the regular basis as I do.
Well, I mean, it would tire you, I'm
people
sure.
are done with Christmas,
right? So Nicole wants to know if you're a different tree every year or the same tree. I think, and I'm sure she can chime in if. The question being, do you take on a different personality for each tree? And as your number one fan, I can tell you that or maybe I'm your number two fan. I don't know. But I can tell you that
I'm putting you number two. Like you put me number two. That's fine. I'll tell you, it's not my mom. Mom's not number one, so I have to figure out who number one is. We'll put you as number two. But go on.
All right, perfect. Is you from what I've gathered, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, is that it's been the same persona, but it's just you're rolling into each tree. Here I come again. Everyone come flock to the streets.
I was curious what your opinion of that was. That, and you're absolutely right. It is the same underlying character. It evolves every year, though. There's no name or anything like that. The New York Stock Exchange has a gorgeous tree they do every year. And a woman by the name of Audrey Green, ironically, ran their social media a few years ago and did a similar type of account for theirs. And the tree, those two battled, and that got some press, and that was fun because I got to go hang out at the New York Stock Exchange holiday party, which was on the floor of the NYSE, and it was amazing and fun. But she used to actually have a different name every year, and it would change character.
Okay.
But no, it's pretty much the underlying same character.
Mm-hmm.
Because the physical tree itself at the end of the year gets brought down, gets chopped up, and used as wood for a Habitat for Humanity home in the region where it's originally from.
Oh, okay.
So the physical tree itself goes on to do some really awesome things. They don't just chop it down and make it, firewood.
Right.
It's a big deal, and it's a great partnership with Habitat. And I donate to Habitat every year around that time as well, just to kind of add to it. I find out which region, and I throw some money their way.
That's awesome.
Just as a nice gesture, I try to, because I think it's awesome how they do that. And the tree gives me so much every year. So if I can give a little, to me, that means a lot.
Yeah.
So the physical tree technically dies. So I never really acknowledge the character element of that. I just say it goes into retirement, and no one really talks about it. We just kind of move on from that because it's genuinely too confusing to try to figure out how do you incarnate and all that. And genuinely, that's just too much for Twitter. For
that's a little deep too.
It's just too much with that. I don't want to get into that. That's too much work. And genuinely, the people that follow it don't care. It's not that audience. It's more of that witty, dry audience. We're not thinking from we're not thinking of it from a character book thing.
Right, right.
So no, it's the same. It's pretty much the same character, but it does evolve over the years, and the opinions of things change. But in a way, it's kind of like a brand new thing that comes on out. So
Okay. Can you give us any spoiler alerts? What or maybe even hint at what the leak of what you've got going on, or what we can expect. I mean, obviously there's the Carol Baskin thing, and
the Carol Baskin there, I will say that there will be a merch store this year.
Oh, get out!
I'm working on. It won't be like 30 Rock Tree brand. It won't be like a T-shirt that says 30 Rock Tree, but it will be slogans and things the tree has said over the years that I think would be great as T-shirts or trinkets for the house. And I'm hoping to do tree stuff, like tree ornaments and things like that, so your tree could have a little bit of sass as well. I'm hoping to do that.
That's awesome.
We're working to try to figure out how to do that without it being too crazy and opening up, like getting a warehouse or anything like that. So I'm working a little bit on working with a couple companies to see how to work on that. So I'm actually quite excited about that. And again, for legal reasons, there will be no actual mention of 30 Rock Trees, because I do not own the trademark for that. My attorney is very happy right now. There will be some commentary on masks, but mostly in the like fashion reviews of masks.
Oh, okay.
And I think we'll be having a little fun with, seeing the photos that, how you say, gives commentary of the photos that are tweeted out. I'll have a little fun with the masks. I am planning on doing some of that.
You got to sell your own, your 30 Rock Tree masks.
Yeah, I could do that. You have a Christmas tree in the middle of the thing. Or like social, there could be something with that.
Yeah.
But there will be some more socially distant type of stuff, but also there's going to be, some things will be, it's also going to depend on how New York is between now and then, because the frustration of the people in the city, what's open, what's not, and playing up on that. But also too, there is an underlying pressure. Someone tweeted a couple of weeks ago to the character about, because the Rockettes are canceled. It'll be the first time in, how many years?
Oh gosh, yeah.
There will be no show.
Listen, you're going to be the Rockettes at this point.
That's part of the thing, is that the tree is going to be the star and kind of the saving grace of Christmas. So we'll have. I think the ego might be a little bit bigger this year for that reason.
Naturally,
might be playing up on that a little bit. So
yeah, no, that's great. I anxiously look forward to it, and I think you've got a few new followers now as well. So with that said, you have the 30 Rock Tree that you run, and you've done the subway system. Do you have any other personalities that you want to plug?
There have been, but they are now DOA and no longer active, and I'd rather not talk about.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
But yeah, no, it's all good. But most of the stuff I do is on my personal stuff at Matt Haze, at MATTHAZE. I'm actually working on some ideas about doing some. Taking some elements of the personality of the tree and then kind of bringing those elements of my real self of the tree, but bringing it into my own content and working on some ideas with that. So I should be coming out with that over the next couple of weeks, a little bit more social commentary on my part. So
the thing I wanted to ask you, you had started to mention early, you also run almost a and I'm probably going to give this the wrong name, so forgive me. Almost like a consulting kind of agency for podcasts or for up and coming comedians, right?
It's my day job, I guess you could say. I run a boutique podcast production company that produces, develops, and also consults. So I work with people that have an idea, that want to launch a podcast, or people that have one and want help to learn how to be able to truly connect one-on-one with their listener on the other side, because we focus so much on listeners as an audience, which is important. But when you're doing a one-on-one podcast, you're actually speaking to one person on the other side listening. Like, I hate when I start a podcast and I hear people go, "Hey, everybody," like when I'm running. So I want to stop and go, "Are all these other people listening to this?
Who else is in the room?"
What the hell? Or when you watch a YouTube video and they go, "Hey guys," I'm like, are there other people in the room with me? Wait a minute, what's going on? Because it's a one-on-one connection that way. So I work with people on building, showing people how to find that internally, how to be able to take their personality and connect with them through whatever medium as it is. It's just an extension of my radio days, because I've started producing podcasts 11 years ago, and I still have a team that I work with that we help develop podcasts. We work with everyone from Emmy award-winning TV hosts to 8-figure entrepreneurs and everyone in between. So that's kind of the day job of what I do, which I love. And then from that, I also work on things like 30 Rock Tree and then my own personal brand stuff. And I'm developing some other comedy online brands and building community, because I think we're at a very important time where community is so important. and community is growing by leaps and bounds online. And I think there's a lot of opportunities for authentic community, for fun community, and looking at a couple different options, developing some ideas from that as well.
Well, and I think that's, I would say, I don't even realize it, but I'm sure many people don't realize it, that you, as a comedian, the days of standing on a stage in front of a brick wall, talking to an audience of 30 to 300 are long past us right now. And, you have to be able to take your craft and transition it into another medium. And I think you're perfecting it, to be honest with you, because your personal page, you got things in your personal page, you got things on your the 30 Rock tree. I mean, it's informative, it's funny, so I think that you're really, I would say that one of the forerunners in maintaining your craft, but in a different medium.
Well, thank you. I greatly appreciate that. Thank you. And I feel I don't do really stand up as much, and I didn't do so much of it really when I was in New York, because I was so turned off by the traditional world. And then when you do things like 30 Rock Tree and you have comedians write nasty crap about you, I mean, there were some things that were just horribly mean, and I don't want to be part of that. But I still feel for those that work in that sense and have that and work on perfecting that craft. And it's unfortunate, and there's a lot of places that I'm not sure are going to be able to survive through this whole thing. And there's still that need for that live comedy. And I have absolute respect for everybody, any partners that do that. But we are at a time where we have to adapt, and there are a lot of people that are struggling with it. And you just have to learn what works, what doesn't work. But the most amazing thing is that we're also at a time now where we can create stuff that makes people laugh in other parts of the world that we never knew. Like you and I never knew each other.
Correct.
And so, I created this, and that's the beauty of it. And I'm able to, entertain people wherever they're at with what's going on. So while it's unfortunate that traditional sense of the club and that space and that environment is gone, there's still an opportunity. And there are a lot of people doing virtual comedy shows and trying TikTok and doing all these new things. And I think that's awesome. You have to expand. And I think I also kind of got into comedy for the traditional comedy sense for the wrong reasons. I did it more for trying to connect and build community and find a home for me personally. But I realized that my home and that community is by doing what I do, how I do it, wherever I do it. And online was the natural place. And that excited me more. Instead of being based in New York and still having to do the club scene, I can take my laptop and be anywhere in the world and be able to create stuff. To me, that's for me more exciting. So I still feel for everybody that works in the club scene and does that traditional stand-up, because there's a lot of people struggling right now trying to figure out what the future is, how this is going to shape out over the next year or two. And, there's some unbelievably talented people that still need an outlet, but I also think that there's more opportunity now than ever before, and the world needs it now.
Oh, absolutely.
Than ever before as well.
There's not enough laughter. Matt, would you be willing to play a game of Would You Rather?
Sure, why not?
All right.
Go for it. Would you like me to do Would You Rather as me, or do you want the tree character?
Oh my goodness. I'm gonna go with the tree character, because is.
Ladies and gentlemen,
wrong one. I'm hitting the wrong. See, this is the problem with technology, is that I have a notepad over here labeling what all my buttons do, yet I don't look at it, and I just press random things. About 3 or 4 episodes ago, I thought I had the right button, and all of a sudden Mike Tyson is talking. So I'm like,
oh Lord.
Oh yeah. So here we are. Pod Decks, the game of Would You Rather, which has now become a routine for the show, which I'm so glad that you're willing to play it. Would You Rather from Pod Decks. Anybody's interested can go to poddecks.com. My show is powered by Pod Decks. If you use code Dana Peloso on checkout, you can get a 10% discount on your Pod Decks. And you don't have to have a podcast or a webcast to have it. You can just, there's some funny things here that you can play with your family. All right, so Matt.
By the way, I will do this as me, and if the tree part of my brain comes up with an answer, I will let you know if it's a tree answer. I'll let you know it that way. So
I like it.
I don't know if I can do the full tree thing. I feel slightly, after I said that, I realized that's slightly even uncomfortable to do, because I've done some print interviews where they said, can you do it as the tree, and they write it out that way, but doing it this way. But if I have a tree thought, I'll let you know. So.
It's all good. All right, so some of these, they've got some funny ones in here. They've got some that it makes you raise an eyebrow, but I have pre-selected some that I thought would be appropriate.
Awesome.
So would you rather, with Matt Haze, would you rather blow up 100 balloons or lick 500 envelopes?
That's a really good. I'm actually going to use that later tonight when I'm at the bar. Really
Perfect.
I'm going to sign up for Poddex right now and use the code that you just mentioned and get my my freebie.
Do it.
I would say Well, the thing is that after dealing with the mold, I was out of breath for about 2 days just from the amount of work. So right now my lungs are going, you are not blowing up 100 balloons right now. So I will stick with envelopes at this point.
They're so
Answer
gross.
might change in a few days.
Yeah, I've taken now to the point of buying only the envelopes that have the pre-stick thing that you rip the paper off. I've got, so listen, truth be told, all right, here's one of my irrational fears, okay?
Right.
I don't like...
Oh, you're not going to say you watched the Seinfeld episode about his fiance licking and then dying, and
oh, no.
You're going to die from
no,
that.
no.
Okay.
It's a texture thing, tactile things. I don't like tape. I mean, I'll use it, obviously, who can't use tape, but duct tape being as sticky and adhesive as it is, I can't deal with it. And the same thing with envelopes. I lick an envelope and I'm skeeved out by it. It's just...
Fair enough. I get it. We all have our quirks.
Listen, I won't get into my fear of porta toilets, but that's another one. That probably ranks, to be honest with you. All right, Matt. Would you rather have your head be too big for your body or your hands be too small for your size? I told you, there's some odd ones.
That's interesting, though.
Yeah.
I had a friend of mine in high school, Brian, whose head was too big for his body, and his nickname was Head. And we still call every once in a while. I'll still message him when he messages me something. I still say it, and I know it drives him nuts because, again, like we said 45 minutes ago, high school never ends.
Oh, it doesn't. It doesn't.
Never ends. I would say hands because I think that would be more of an interesting conversation starter.
You got the little, this is my strong hand, child.
Yeah.
All right. Would you rather have your voice sound like Gilbert Gottfried or Fran Drescher?
It sounds like both already. So
come on.
I say Gilbert because I think there could be more fun with that.
All right.
I have a little bit of Gilbert in me as it is. I'll say Gilbert with that.
That's okay. Would you rather pull a tooth with a pair of pliers or brand yourself with a cattle prod?
Jeez. Both would make great YouTube videos and make a killer amount of money. But I think I'll do the tooth because if you do the tooth, you make the money off of YouTube and that's it. If you brand yourself, then you have to become like you're going to livestock shows and all that. They're going to hire you for more money, and that like actually becomes your life thing. The tooth thing, you can kind of move on. It's a one and done type of celebrity. So I'll go with the tooth.
All right, last one. Would you rather be forced to high five everyone that you make eye contact with, or strike up conversations with at least 5 strangers a day?
Oh, that my actual instinct is having 5 conversations with strangers a day for me is great. I have no problem with that because I feed off of meeting new people and strangers, and there's something everybody has something fascinating that they can share.
Right.
And I genuinely live off of that. So instinctively, I would say that, albeit high-fiving people every day, the old New Yorker in me goes, I get slapped like by the 5th person. That high five would just be a slap across my face.
You high five somebody, you get tackled by somebody else.
Yeah. Well, honestly, though, now everybody's being so friendly that I think everybody would kill for the high five. Just like, oh my God, a human touch. Oh, that's amazing. At this point, so.
Yeah. All right. Perfect. Thank you. That is our game of Would You Rather, sponsored by Poddex. And Matt, you say that you go on there. There's a lot of them on here. You've got Interview Deck. I've got Interview Deck 2. So, and it's funny because I'm like, I wonder if I'm going to run out of questions for him. But I mean, we're going on over an hour. This might be my longest interview yet. But they have
That's awesome.
They have two options for interviews. They have a game called What the Heck. So there's a lot of options there, and they're not bad price. They're not a bad price. I speak English. So that is that. Matt, I wanted to ask you earlier, I keep forgetting, have you had the chance to meet Al Roker personally?
That's a great question. So no,
Oh,
I have. So here's the deal. So we have DM'd privately.
Okay.
I sent him a message saying, Mr. Roker, thank you so much. I really appreciate it for doing all that. And we had a quick banter back and forth just privately of hey, thanks. This was fun and all that. I have not met him in person yet. Him and the crew know who I am and all. They've done their searching on me. But I will say this: I had the opportunity, kind of, sort of, about this is 2014, 2015, so about 5-6 years ago. Al did a pilot of a game show It's actually I'm not sure if I'm allowed to talk about whether it's been 5 or 6 years, but I don't want to take the chance and get on the bad side of NBC Universal.
Sure.
It was a type of a game show that if I told you the title and what it was, you would think it was an SNL bit, but actually real life.
Okay.
It was so clever, but I'm surprised they didn't do it. But he was the host of it, and his production company produced the pilot for it, but it never got picked up by anybody. And I was in the audience for it because a friend of mine runs an audience company. A lot of the audiences you see on TV shows, they have to find those people. There's so many shows now, and they have to find the thousands of people. So a buddy of mine runs one of those companies. So we went up to Connecticut to Stamford where they shot it, and I was in the audience. And I thought, you know what, if there was an opportunity to ask Al a question if he came out and did that, because a lot of times they do that at TV shows during commercial breaks, the host will come out and chat with and interact with the audience as a nice gesture. I was going to say, hi, I'm Matt, I'm 30 Rock Tree, but that never came on up. There was too much going on shooting the pilot and all that. So I've been in the room with Al, and I think I've walked by him once or twice in the streets, but I've never met him personally about that, though. That's not happened.
Well, there's always hope for this year.
You never know. I mean, I think it would be, when we were in the audience, I thought that would be an interesting moment to be like, hi, I'm Matt, I'm the tree. Oh my God. And you have that total shock with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
It'll happen someday. I also don't physically live in New York anymore. I haven't lived in New York in a few years. So
right.
If I did, it probably would be different. But no, we just have not met at this point yet. So it would be nice. And I'm sure at some point it will happen, and it will be definitely a fun thing when it does.
Yeah, no, that'll be awesome. All right, Matt. Well, listen, I don't want to hold you all. I mean, I do. This would be great. I mean, we could go forever. I feel like, this is the first time meeting you, and I feel like I've known you forever. So, it's been great. I look forward to this year's 30 Rock Tree, and hopefully everybody watching starts to subscribe to the 30 Rock Tree on Twitter, which is not an official account. It is not an accurate depiction of the tree itself. It is. If the tree, it is not an actual, because the tree could allegedly talk. So, sure, right. It is purely a parody.
Yes, absolutely.
We're not going to get you sued today.
Thank you for having me. This has been a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it, and I think this is, like I told you privately, I think I know you're doing some switching in your life and doing some new stuff, and I mean you're great at this. This was fun to chat with. It's not easy for people to make such a 180 shift in their life. So I give you kudos and congratulate you on doing this. And
thank you.
Thank you so much for being a supporter of the tree over the years. I'm so happy that I was able to do this with you.
Thank you very much, Matt. And that means a lot. The transition was, gosh, thank goodness for my family, because it was difficult, and that'll probably be a whole nother topic for another show one day.
So real quickly, I know we have to wrap this up, and I have to get going here, but let's just chat about this for like a quick second. Let me interview you for a second. So what was that like? What was the mental decision? Was the mental decision to make that shift? Was that easy or was that difficult for you?
It was.
When you just said, "I'm done. I'm going to do this shift."
Yeah, so that's a great question. Thank you. It was incredibly hard. To be a police officer was something that I wanted my whole life, or I thought I wanted my whole life. And I got there at an older age than most people do. I was 33 in the academy. I had at home I had a 3-year-old daughter. I think Nate was that was 8 or 9 at the time. My wife was she was 22. No. Yeah, she'll kill me afterwards if I told you how. No, so it was something I always wanted, and I was on the job for 3 years, and I got hurt, and when I came back, the injury was just plaguing me, and at the suggestion of my doctor, I bowed out, and it is as easy as it might seem that your family needs to come first. It's insane how much you identify personally with the badge on your shirt, and it was the first month, truth be told, was incredibly hard. And, I have a great therapist. Not a lot of people would admit to that, but I think that more people need that. And he had told me one day, he said, listen, your kid's going to love you no matter what you do. You could be a garbage man, and being a garbage man is going to be the most amazing job of your life. And she'll look up to you no matter what, as long as you continue to be a good person. And it wasn't obvious at first to me, but as the time has gone on, now she's like, oh, dad hosts a show, and he's trying to get into marketing. So, it's it was incredibly hard at first, but I can tell you in hindsight, it's 2020. It's the best decision I made yet. Especially with the way of the world right now, not a lot of people are supporting police officers, and I understand some sides of it. There are just like any field, there's bad cops, there's bad comedians, there's bad doctors, but the one or two people don't speak for the entirety of the profession, and unfortunately, I think that society as a whole is painting that picture right now.
Absolutely. And the problem with so much of the problem people in that world, the bad apples inside the forces and inside of law enforcement, you said something that really stood out to me when you said you identified with that badge.
Yeah.
And there's so many people that do. And I think there is that line alone is so loaded and has so much to unpack from that. But a lot of the people that are the problem, their underlying issues, their underlying beliefs, the reasons why the way they act, they do. It's just that their role amplifies and allows them to let that out.
Yeah.
It's so much more deeper rooted issues of racism, of feeling that you need to be in control, of what if something happened to them when they were younger, and the reason why they act the way they do is that now it just manifests in utilizing the role that they're doing, and they're bad apples because of it. But there's an element of culture underneath it that needs to be discussed, and not everybody has that. So it's such a loaded question and such a loaded conversation. And one of those things we talked about before of, do we need to have those conversations, but people are so set on, Blue Lives Matter or Black Lives Matter. There's no in between. There's not this or whatever. No one wants to have just the conversation of why are we saying this or
Right.
this or feeling this way or acting this way? What is it underneath that we need to fix? That's not going to be an easy answer. And it's not going to be something that's going to change overnight either. It's going to take
Right.
a long time. It's going to take a lot of conversations, a lot of paradigm shifts to make that happen. But again, people don't want to have that. It's too easy to see out on both sides, and it's unfortunate because the people that suffer are the people at the hands of the problem people.
Right. No, absolutely.
That are in all this.
Yeah, no, and I'll tell you, my my identity with my badge was not so much of the power of it, because I mean, yeah, absolutely, there's power that comes with that job, and there is obviously there's an obvious authority, but there's an authority that is, it's unknown to some people, and it's unknown to people until they put the badge on. But for me personally, I've always been one that tries to do good by society. I've always tried to give back. I've always tried to, do my part to make the world a little bit better. And I felt that was my avenue to do that. And, unbeknownst to me that, there is life beyond that, there's,
right.
And
so in a way you felt that, tell me if I'm wrong here, you felt that because you identify with the badge. So that way, when you walked away, you almost felt like you were betraying that, because you identified so much of, this is my role, this is what I need to do, this is how I give back to the world. And then stepping away from that in a way is kind of, there probably was there an issue dealing with that? Yeah.
There was that, and then there was truly the, what am I going to do? Like I've been in public safety in one way or another since I was 18 years old, and I'm 37 now, and I've never known a different path, career-wise. I've always been involved in little things here and there, but my main focus has always been public safety in one way or the other. And on the flip side of that coin, that's where a lot of my issues come from, is some of the stuff that I've been through. But that said, I sat there and everybody can envision their future. Everybody says, next year I'm gonna go on this vacation, or next year I'm gonna do this with my job, or whatever. I sat there and it was like a blank a blank canvas, and I said, holy crap, like, what am I gonna do? What else is there for me? And after I got past that little moment, then I started to get into some things, and I've got some, I started my own marketing. I'll give myself a plug here. I started my own marketing business, which it's slow to take off, but I'll tell you that I expected it to be, because I don't have a history in it. And how can somebody with a company, that is doing well, that is looking for a marketing person, say, this guy's got zero experience, he's got very limited, credentials to stand on. Well, which this is where I think I connect with you the most, is running multiple social media accounts. I've really taken to social media marketing to then build other things, and things are starting to turn for me now. But I sat there and I said, oh my gosh, what is there for me? You know?
Right. But the thing is that your background with what you do actually does help with marketing, because I think there's a lot of people that get into marketing that all they know is marketing, but you need fresh ideas. You need somebody that's done something different, because you can intertwine,
Yeah.
what you did before, how to interact with people, because your job was to interact with people, good or bad.
Right. Right.
And how do you serve people? What you're doing is you take those elements and you mix it into your marketing. You come at it with a unique, different perspective, which can really relate and connect to people that you're trying to find. When it comes to marketing and people are trying to find an audience, how to interact with those people. You're just doing it now in a different way.
Right. Yeah. No.
Businesses and entrepreneurs and your different type of clients, just, you take those real life scenarios and then just utilize the marketing tools, because the marketing tools itself, anybody can learn, but it's how, same with podcasting. People think, oh, I listen to a podcast, so I can just turn on a microphone and talk. Well,
No.
yeah, you can do that, but it's how do you interact? How do you connect with someone on the other side? There is a personality element to it. And with what you do with marketing, you take how you interact with people and work with the public, and then you integrate that into your marketing. So, they definitely do go hand in hand in that sense.
Yeah, and I think that's I think that's where I've been slow to learn that, but I am I am cognizant of it. And my cover letter that I was sending out for the longest time, it said that it was more of it read like a storybook. It said that I went from seeing people in some of their worst days, mitigating their divorces, or locking up a mother or father, or in a high-speed pursuit, whatever, and I now am, how would that amount to a PR role for me, or how would that amount to a marketing role? Well, it's all about people, and that's what I would tell you, it took me 2.5 months to the day to realize, wow, you know what? I do have something here. My background, my life story. I was involved in politics at one point, so mesh it all together, and all of those things, take the badge away, take the title away. It is marketing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
And that's awesome. And everyone has to go through those silent moments and sit with themselves and go through that, but no one wants to do that. So the fact that you did that, that's quite awesome, man. That's great.
No, and listen, I can't say it was all on my own. I have a lot of good people in my life, from pastors to my wife, to even my daughter, and my stepson. Like, even everybody in my life has played an integral role. My good friend Nicole. It's crazy how even people don't even realize it, the role that they've had, and it's little things that come up that will really motivate somebody and keep them going, which I'm sure, I guess, full circle, your 30 Rock Tree is that was the interview you had, was that, hey, if I'm helping one person, well, there's a lot of people that don't realize that they are helping one person.
Absolutely. You never know how a smile or a little gesture or something can do. And I know we need to start wrapping this up. So I'll leave you with this, actually, because I did my morning meditation earlier, and it was talking about, what you want to receive, but also what you want to give, and how the world is an ebb and flow in that sense. And it's, here, let me pull up the actual
Sure.
wording of it for today, and I'll leave you with this. And maybe this is something we all can try then today,
Yeah.
because this is one little thing that we can do. It was day 9. Today and every day, I give that which I want to receive. So, if you want more love, you give more love. If you want, more certain abundance in your life, you help people find that abundance. And there's little gifts that you can give every day. So it's a smile to somebody, or if you go to a restaurant tonight, tip a little bit more.
Yeah.
You run into somebody, ask a question, just do it doesn't have to be monetary, but just one little gift that you can give to every person you run into today, even in your own home. And those little things can add up and just make your day so much better.
Absolutely. And I think that's a great way to end it. And I thank you, Matt Haze, the 30 Rock, the human behind the 30 Rock Tree, which is not an official tree. I thank you so much. And I look forward to this year, with you. I say with you, you're talking to me. That's at the end of the day, you're there to amuse me. I'm sorry.
No, it's all good. I know my place. I am the dancing monkey on the internet. I'm well aware of that at Christmas.
That's
So
great.
Just buy my crap. That's all I ask. I'll entertain you and all. You buy a T-shirt, we're good. That's all good.
Oh, yeah.
This is fun. Thank you, my friend. I really do appreciate it.
Yeah, awesome. And listen, whether you like it or not, I'm probably going to keep in touch with you. So
sounds great. Please do.
I look forward to it. Thank you very much, Matt. Matt Haze, the human behind the 30 Rock Tree. So thank you. All right. So tune in every Friday every Friday at 10 a.m. And listen, I'm going to tell you, I'll probably be hitting him up for his services on the use of the podcasting and whatnot, because eventually I want to turn my old shows into a podcast that I can play, and then integrate it all, and it's been fun. So Matt Haze, at Matt Haze on Twitter. And I think he's on a bunch of other social media platforms as well, but the 30 Rock Tree, at 3030 Rock, ROCK, Tree, TREE, which is not an official tree or not an official account of the 30 Rock Tree. But thank you, Matt Haze, for tuning in today. Thank you, everyone, for watching, and I appreciate the interactions that were on there. Hopefully I got everybody's question. I don't always see him pop up, but I'm sure that if you follow Matt and have any further questions for him, you can probably shoot it out to him. But that's all for today. Tune in next Friday, 10 a.m. Fridays, 10 a.m. at facebook.com/DanaPeloso82. Or you can watch the replay of these shows on youtube.com/DanaPeloso. Please, 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 please. It helps me out in the long run at some point or another. I don't know when, but I'm told that it'll help me out in the long run that if you subscribe and hit the bell on YouTube. But that's all for today. Thank you all very much. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.